And I didn't know that the city of Forest Park didn't have a gym. For some reason, I thought it did, but
Well, I mean, there's
learn
one
something new every
inside of
day.
our rec center, but in terms of like
Like
LA
a LA
Fitness,
Fitness,
or going
Planet.
to a spa and
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
relax. Yeah.
I got you. I
Yeah.
got you. Well, I hope our listeners are listening to that,
If
right?
you're listening, if you
Opportunity.
build it, they will come.
Welcome to the Aerotropolis Atlanta podcast. I am Shannon James, your president and CEO, and we're fortunate to bring this podcast to you today, brought to you by our friends at the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, who continue to be advocates and supporters of the Aerotropolis mission and vision since the very beginning. So hats off to you, Chairman Turner, and the entire commission board. And today, we are fortunate to bring to you a very special guest, the mayor of the city of Forest Park, Mayor Angeline Butler. Mayor Butler, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
And on behalf of the governing body and residents of Forest Park, I bring greetings.
Greetings to the city and the residents. We have the number one in the house today, the mayor of Forest Park. Mayor Butler,
Yes.
I tell you, I know it's summertime. I see you got your braids in. That's the going lingo right now.
Yes.
And make it easy. And that's the way we do things here on our podcast. And we're just fortunate to have you here. And we're very thankful that you joined us. And with that being said, you and I, we've had a great opportunity to get to know each other. Mm-hmm. And what we want to do today is allow our listeners and viewers to better understand who Mayor Angeline Butler is, right? We were just talking before we got in here about your family, coming in from the West Coast, which was one crazy trip. I can only imagine coming from Washington and California, but allow our listeners to know more about you, right? Where you're from, school you went to, your professional background, the family we just talked about. Help our listeners know who you are.
Oh, well, awesome. Yes, that's my favorite topic, actually. So I am from the state of Washington. I went to Lakes High School. I started out going to the University of Washington before I transferred into Spelman.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that's what brought me to Atlanta.
Spelman.
Yes, and I knew at 19 I wanted to begin a career in politics. I just did not know when and how I was going to get my foot in the door. But I knew that education for me was one area to kind of get my foot in the door, to learn how to navigate the waters of politics. So I subsequently went on to obtain my master's degree at Troy University, and I am an all but dissertation at Walden University. So upon completion, I will have my PhD in public policy and administration.
Nice.
I've spent several years in government, working in various sectors of government. And so I think all of that, and combined with my education, is what primed me for this position as mayor.
That is a very healthy background. I mean, you obviously taking a lot of time to keep your head in the books, and I'm surprised you don't wear glasses like me at this point. No. But it sounds like you are really driving towards excellence, right? It sounds like you just continue to move forward. You really have that growth mindset. But before we kind of deep dive, I want to take a side trip, right? Because I think our listeners heard the great polished side of Mayor Butler. Allow our listeners to know something that they don't know about you, that they can't just pick up out of a book, right? Are you a bathroom singer in the shower? Or are you, do you like to, ride your bike and sing songs? Do you always wanted to be on American Idol? I don't know. Help our listeners know something about you that they just can't find out there.
So I am a teen mother. I gave birth to my daughter, who is by far my greatest accomplishment, when I was 14.
Wow.
Yes, and my father was Command Sergeant Major of the military base that I grew up on. So can you imagine me telling a Command Sergeant Major, I'm pregnant, and
right.
I was pregnant at 13. I gave birth at 14.
Wow.
So that was difficult, extremely difficult. It was so difficult that I hid my pregnancy.
I know. I can believe it.
Yeah.
That's a young, tender age, and I think you just given some hope and aspirations to those young listeners out there who have, been faced with an early young adult childhood giving birth. And so I think you're a voice of hope.
Well, and that is my favorite demographic. I like for young ladies to understand that I understand what they're going through, and that there are times where your test will truly become your testimony. And so when I did finally share with my family that I was pregnant, I heard every negative connotation you could imagine. If you think of the stereotypes and statistics surrounding teen mothers, I heard it all. And I didn't know what they were saying there, but my family let me know that I was going to fall into that trap. But we didn't.
That's right.
We lived an amazing life of excess. And then I had some less than galvanizing lows when I lost my job and experienced underemployment. And so what I would really love for young ladies to understand is that just because you made an adult decision at a young age, that doesn't mean you have to give up on your dreams.
That's
and you and your child can have an amazing life.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Black girl magic over here.
Oh, that is what it is.
Mayor Butler, thank you for
Yes.
sharing that. Thank you for sharing
Absolutely.
that. And, I think the biggest thing that we, obviously want our listeners to know, we're not advocating,
We do not advocate for teen pregnancy,
Yeah.
but life happens.
That's right. Life happens.
Yes.
Life happens. And when you those cards are dealt your way, you've got to stand through that adversity and be confident and strong and persevere. And
Absolutely.
you can become mayor one day.
Yes, and I think that's when I learned my first lesson in accountability.
Wow.
I was at 14.
Isn't that something? Well, I hope our listeners and some of our viewers are taking in that vulnerability you just shared with us. And I got a chance to see your daughter at the State of the City. We'll talk about it a little later. We don't want to steal the thunder now.
Yes.
But congratulations. She is,
Thank you.
no question, a true example of, what type of mother you are. She, listening to her future accomplishments and what she's getting ready to do. I was excited to hear that. So, but with that being said, Mayor, let's now transition back, right? We'll get down to the business about you and being the mayor of the city of Forest Park. Help our listeners understand your role, right? Because as we've had other mayors in the podcast, each mayor's role is different for each city. And so what we want our listeners to understand is your role with the city of Forest Park. So help us understand what that looks like.
So Forest Park has a council manager form of government. So our city manager runs the day-to-day operations of the city. We have a 5-member council or governing body. And so that is our legislative body. And so I serve as the executive branch of the city. And more or less a figurehead. I'm the voice and face of the city. I do have the ability to veto. Yes, I
Veto power.
I hold on to that strong. But yes, so anything, ordinances or resolutions that come before the governing body, they vote on it. Majority wins, naturally. And if it's something that I feel is not in the best interest of the city, then I can use my veto.
Nice. And you mentioned the city manager, Angeline. We got to give a shout out to Angela, who sits on our board, Angela Redding. Shout out, Angela.
Yes, Angela Redding, the best city manager a mayor could ever ask for.
That's right. Angela, plug for you, girl. And Angela is pretty amazing. She's all over the place. And special shout out to Angela's husband, who's from Cordele. So that's just a South Georgia plug. But
well, let me say this about Angela. She has worked in the city. I think this is going on her 20th year.
wow.
She has been overlooked several administrations for a city manager's position. So I am just thrilled that this administration was able to give her what she rightfully deserved.
No question. Angela is a dynamite. I mean, I'm glad you pointed that out. I didn't know that. But Angela is no question very thoughtful, knowledgeable, and she knows what she's
everything.
doing. Yeah, man. So shout out to Angela Redding. So if you guys don't know who she is, you know now.
You do know now.
So with that being said, you mentioned the council. Help us understand some of the objectives for 2019 that the mayor and council that you guys are thinking about accomplishing for this fiscal year.
So with Forest Park, part of the platform that I ran on and that I even mentioned in my State of the City address is called Progress, Operation Progress. And that stands for Political Restoration, Opportunity, and Growth for Residential, Economic, and Social Success. And so each pillar can stand alone, but it's only when they work together and operate in unison is when we can reach our full potential. And so a lot of our objectives, stem around progress. And so as it pertains to economic growth, naturally we want to retain and recruit new businesses to come into the city. But also with that, our employees are extremely important. And so with that, we want to make sure that they are compensated to mirror what their counterparts of similar sized cities are making, and that will aid in the retention of qualified employees also. With our residential side of Forest Park, that is our biggest challenge ultimately, but then I think will become our biggest reward in the end. And so Forest Park has a housing stock that is extremely antiquated. Brings a lot of character to the city, but when you're trying to move forward and attract new residents into the city, they want some up-to-date housing stock. And so that's what our big objective is for 2019 and beyond.
Nice.
Will be is getting that taken care of.
I hope our residential developers out there who are listening have taken heed to some of the objectives for the city. And I'm sure they're listening. So
yes, and so let me just add. So with any residential developers or commercial developers that are looking to relocate, just know when you come to Forest Park, you are coming into a city in which you will see a direct impact of your investment. I think a lot of times when developers and business-minded people are looking to expand and move somewhere, they want to go where it's already established. And so coming to Forest Park, you're getting in on the ground level while the prices are still on the lower end. But because of the potential that we have, you're going to see how your investment directly impacted an entire city. And I think that should be an intrinsic reward that developers look for when they're looking to relocate as well.
That's a good point. Especially you've hit several elements, whether it's basically painting their own canvas at this point, and then also like any savvy investor, you get in low. Yes. And you create it, and you create the value, and it ultimately rises. And after that point, it's all about profit, right? And the city wins, the developer wins. It's a win-win situation.
All the way around.
Thank you for putting that out there, Mary. And since we're talking about development, in your recent State of the City, you mentioned a few new economic development projects. Can you help our listeners know about some of the economic development activity that's happening in the city?
Yes. So a lot of our economic development activity is going on at Fort Gillem. And so Fort Gillem was the casualty of the 2005 Base Realignment and Closure Act, which meant that the base was closing. So the city was able to purchase approximately 1,300 acres, in which we are developing. So in addition, or in conjunction with, let me say that, with our development partners, Robinson Weeks, we have been able to bring some amazing companies to Forest Park.
Yes, you have.
So a few of those companies, the Kroger Distribution Center, which that area serves as the southeastern regional hub. Amazing, brought about 1,000 jobs to the city.
1,000 jobs, wow.
We have Cummins Diesel, which they built the engines for like the big trucks and boats and stuff. It's just amazing. They loved us so much that they have 2 locations in Forest Park.
2?
2.
So nice they did it twice.
You know what? Come on, we welcome it.
That's right.
We have Kuhn and Nagel, and then we have Technique Concrete. And let me just say this about Technique. Its president and CEO, Billy Freeman, has been an intricate part to Forest Park. He is one of those business owners that any city would want. We don't want businesses to come into our city and be phantoms. We want to see you. We want to partner with you. And so he has done a lot for Forest Park in terms of giving back. And so I could not be thankful enough for his partnership with the city. And HD Supply is the newest company to call Forest Park home. So they moved their northern headquarters to Fort Gillem, and Out of that partnership, Forest Park won the National Association for Industrial Office Parks Industrial Deal of the Year Award.
Man,
that is a tongue twister.
You talk about tongue twister. Yes, I'm surprised you remembered the entire acronym.
You see, I had to take my time. Get it right.
You did right. You did
Yes,
right. That's a
yes.
huge deal. I mean, my God. So help our listeners understand, what does that mean?
Well, not only was that the first deal that this administration has done, but it just is a testament to companies wanting to move, wanting to see a direct impact that their contributions will have on a city, and then also our location. So for those of you who may not be aware, Forest Park is accessible off of all the major interstates. I mean, within nanoseconds. So let me just start by saying this. So Forest Park has what we call the AAAs. We are accessible, affordable, and we are asset rich. And so we are accessible, again, because you can reach us off of all the major interstates, and the airport is right there in our backyard. We are affordable because we are in a tier 1 and opportunity zone community. And in addition to that, just our pricing for residential homes and everything is just on the lower end at the current moment. And then we're asset rich because we have so much untapped land that is just primed for development.
Man, Mayor Butler, you just laid out. I mean, I need to take you on a road show with me.
Let's
and
go.
talk about Clayton and Forest Park. You need to be right here. Seriously, because I think you just really articulated to any investor and developer why they should do business. Not only that the city is open arms and wanting to do business, I think that's illustrated by HD Supply relocating their headquarters to Fort Gillem and winning a national award for it. But you also have people who are in the community who continue to invest at a very big level, like the Billy Freemans of the world, right?
Yes.
Because major shout out to Billy. Billy Freeman, if you guys don't know him at Technique Concrete, is one of the visionaries for not only Forest Park, but I think Clayton and our region, and he just does so much. And I appreciate you for recognizing Billy for his greatness.
Absolutely.
And there's another group out there that I know you would love to mention, who actually won our Small Business of the Month award in Clayton County, recognized by the Clayton County Chamber of Commerce. Shout out to Jeremy Stratton out there. And that's the Jasper Group. And I know they're getting ready to do some really good stuff.
Yes. So the Jasper Group is spearheaded by a husband and wife dynamic duo. And in addition to Jasper Plaza that they brought to Forest Park, which they have is serving as our international restaurant community, but they are also building a 4-star 110-room hotel into the city, which is amazing and needed given that the world's busiest airport is in our backyard. So we don't want people to have to drive outside of Forest Park to stay.
That's right.
And so now that we have the hotel coming, we have the restaurants here, it's just a matter of time before we truly start to thrive.
You hit it. And you know what? Perfect segue. And this may be exactly what the city is looking for, but help our listeners understand, especially those who are in the development side, about the type of development that the city is looking to attract. Because, you mentioned restaurants, you mentioned a hotel, that may be foreign to most people in the market when they talk about the city of Forest Park, because they probably never really heard, that the city wanted that type of product. So help our listeners understand, what is it that the city is looking to bring?
So the city is looking to bring life to Forest Park. And so we don't have a coffee shop in Forest Park. So something that seems minute because you see it everywhere else, we don't have in Forest Park. We don't have a gym. So we want a gym in our city.
That's right.
A good sports bar.
Nice.
That's I want to go watch the game and have a place where I can unwind. A facility that has Wi-Fi to where Clayton State University is less than 5 miles from Forest Park.
That's right.
So we have the students come there and read books or just access their Wi-Fi, or even the young millennials when they get off work that want to unwind. Something that you see in just every other city is what we're lacking.
Right.
And so we need to bring it to Forest Park.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh, it's
and
coming.
listen, and that's,
I feel it in my bones.
I know, me too. I think the electricity is vibing for
Yes.
sure. And that's something, our organization really wants to help promote and attract for the city. And I think that's how we can be really good partners outside of all the other things we're talking about, whether it's the
Absolutely.
Greenway Plan or land use and zoning. We can go on and on. But I think just mentioning to our listeners and viewers about the type of products that the city is looking for, sometimes it just takes one, ring, right? And someone hears something and it resonates. And and I didn't know that the city of Forest Park didn't have a gym. For some reason, I thought it did, but
Well, I mean, there's
learn
one
something new
inside
every
of
day.
our rec center, but in terms of like
Like
LA
LA
Fitness,
Fitness,
going
Planet.
to a spa. and
Yeah,
just-
yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. Well, I hope our listeners are listening to that, right?
If you're listening, if you
Opportunity.
build it, they will come.
That's right, because once you build it, that's where they have to come, because
Yes.
that's where it is. Thank you, Mayor, for sharing that. And with that being said, Mayor, you are coming into this role with tons of energy, lots of vision, and I think it was displayed very much so during your State of the City address.
Thank you.
And which was awesome, by the way. And I
Thank
learned
you.
so much during that State of the City, not just the venue we were in, this 150 plus institution that has housed, all types of races and people, and it was so impressive. But the biggest takeaway was your address, and I think our listeners need to hear that. I think this was the inaugural.
The inaugural.
State of the
Yes.
City for Forest Park. So help our listeners understand what does that mean now for the city to have its first State of the City, and then what you wanted the attendees to take away from your speech or the event.
So there has been a negative connotation associated with Forest Park. And I am a firm believer that if we don't tell our own narrative, then someone else will. And so
That's right.
the State of the City address served as an opportunity for me to share our narrative. A lot of people may not have heard of Forest Park, let alone know what's truly going on. And so there's an adage, if you have one bad experience, you tell 10 people, but for every positive experience, what you keep to yourself, or
Right.
is something to that effect. And so I wanted everyone to hear from my mouth to their ears of the greatness that is actually going on in Forest Park.
You did that.
Thank you.
I'm serious. You did that. And I love how you just articulated your strategy to bring that into fruition, right? And is there anything you'd like to share about that piece around your strategy of how you want to try and help drive? And I think you even talked about it before early in our podcast.
So my strategy is called Operation Progress.
That's right.
Yes. So that stands for political restoration, opportunity, and growth for residential, economic, and social success. And so with political restoration, in this arena, or just in life in general, there's good and bad, the positive and the negative, but we cannot allow our personal feelings to hinder the job that we were elected to do.
That's right.
And so with political amnesia, that's just basically stating that whatever happened the day before, you have to let it go the next day in order for us to truly move forward and progress.
That's right.
As a city, I find that in a lot of arenas, people operate on their emotions, and which can affect their decision-making skills. And we can no longer have that in Forest Park. So again, the residential opportunity, which is something that is desperately needed. We want to, we have a 3-tiered approach to that, which involves the city, the homeowner, and new development. And so the city, I would like for my administration to offer incentives to those homeowners that are being proactive in keeping up the values of their home. The city, again, it's spelled out in our 2018 comprehensive plan, everything that we can do, but we have to take intentional steps in those efforts, because right now we just have a comprehensive plan that's just sitting on the shelf. And we pay a lot of money for those plans. And so we need to start utilizing the suggestions that were put forth in those plans.
That's right.
And the new development speaks for itself.
It's a good point. I love the fact that you mentioned not allowing those plans to sit on the shelf. I remember you mentioning that in the State of the City, and so oftentimes that happens, right? You'll go through this long study, you get all this engagement, all of these thoughts, and you get exactly what the people want, and then there's no real implementation. And so I just want to thank you for that, Mayor.
Oh, well, thank you. But to that point, I think that's why having a stable government is important, because we have these studies that are commissioned, and then you have a new administration that takes over.
That's right.
And then sometimes that new administration vision may not be the same as the previous one. So then you're spending more money trying to execute a new study.
That's right. That's right. Good point. Excellent point. I would love to know, or allow our listeners to know, about any potential events or activities happening in the city that maybe, within the next, quarter or a couple of months, couple of weeks. Is there anything that our listeners should be aware of that's getting ready to come to the city of Forest Park?
Yes. So as we speak, we're having our first ever job fair.
Nice.
That I hear is going very well. I'll be going there as soon as I leave here. In September, we're going to have our first ever record restriction summit.
Oh, wow.
So I am thrilled with that. And it's not intended to be a one-time event. We want to make it at least quarterly, if not biannually. We want to do it a couple of times a year, definitely.
Now, what does that mean, though? Tell me about that. You said record restriction.
So it's otherwise known as an expungement event.
Gotcha,
yes,
gotcha.
but the technical term is record restriction summit.
I like the way you use the technical term.
Well, I have my hand slapped by one of my officers. Like, no, Mayor, it's not a expungement. You cannot say that. So I got it now.
That's right.
So that will, sometimes we do silly things. We've been young, or even as an adult.
Of course.
Things happen.
That's right.
But for first-time offenders, misdemeanors, it can clear some blemishes up. And that is with a lot of collaboration. Our solicitor in Forest Park, the Clayton County Solicitor, the Clayton County District Attorney's Office, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Sisters Empowerment Incorporated. We're all coming together for this. And so
that's
it's
in
going to be
September,
awesome.
right?
September 14th.
September 14th. So I hope everyone's listening.
Yes. And also coming up in August, we don't have a date set yet, but for all of you looking to invest, to have just an inkling of an interest, we're going to have our first ever developer meet and greet. So you could come out to Forest Park, you can meet me in person, meet some key staff and other stakeholders in the city, so you could see where your next investment will be housed.
And just to add to that, and I'm so excited about that, please, in September the 24th, and for our listeners, we will be conducting a commercial bus tour with City of Forest Park. Participated last year, and we'll be participating again this year. So just to add to the mayor's list of events, please add September the 24th. We'll be hosting a Clayton County bus tour, and we'll be looking at all the top catalytic sites in all the cities that are in the Aerotropolis. So I just wanted to add that to your mini list that we're
on out.
That's right. We're putting them out there. Mayor, I know we've talked about a lot, right? We've talked about, the vision, the city, what's coming. Is there anything that we didn't mention today that you would like our listeners, our audience to know about? Hear about? Is there anything that we're missing today that you want to make sure we cover?
We do have some companies that I'm not at liberty to fully disclose, those non-disclosure agreements. But one of the companies at Fort Gillem is looking to expand, and that expansion will be the first of its kind in this region. And I believe, if we move fast enough, it will be its first U.S. location.
Oh, wow.
So we're international, you guys. So I don't know what you're waiting for. Just come on and get on board.
That's right.
And then we have signed a contract for a movie production studio to come to Forest Park.
Nice.
Now that's my baby.
That's a big
That is
deal.
my baby. That has been many, many years in the works. A lot of administrations have tried to accomplish this. And so with this contract, we have gotten the furthest. And but they want to close within like 60 days.
Oh, nice.
And so, yes, just a
Okay.
whole host of opportunity. And so with Forest Park, one of the things that I really want to do is expose my residents to areas in which they may not be familiar with. So I believe that when you ask a person what it is they want to do when they grow up, or just in life, you hear some of the same answers, football player, rapper, which is fine.
Right, of course.
But I believe that is a testament to maybe where their thinking is. And so if we can expose the residents to economic development, like partnering with Robinson Weeks to start a economic development summer camp, which is what we're working on.
Nice.
They just don't know it just yet, but I plan on talking to them about it.
All right, David, you heard it, David.
Yeah, sorry, David. But so that young kids growing up can see, oh, wow, there is a profitable life in help building facilities and bringing life to a city. And so with all of the companies that are coming, I want to expose my residents to that and open their mind.
That's right.
Even more so.
That's right.
So that when they go on and matriculate in life, especially my high schoolers, I let them know when their name is on the moniker, I don't want it to say Atlanta. Nothing against Atlanta.
Right.
But I needed to say Forest Park.
That's
because that's where they're from.
That's right. Hold the baton high.
Yes, okay. Because I want to make sure that I do whatever I can to make them proud to call Forest Park home.
That's right.
And that's what they can do in turn for me.
I love
Put
it,
us
Mayor.
on the map even more so.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. On the map. Well, Mayor, you continue to do such a really good job of articulating the story, the vision, the strategy for the city, and we can truly understand how you really care about your residents. And, I hope that our listeners are taking that in, and I'm sure they've gotten a lot of information from you today.
Yes.
How can they find you, right? If they want to get online, they want to, really get in contact with you directly, or if there's some information they may have heard in particular around Fort Gillem, how can they get in contact with you? How can they maybe even get in contact with David if there's a project? Help our listeners figure out how to contact you.
Okay. So our development partners, Robinson Weeks, you can reach David Welch at 404-815-2019. And again, that's 404-815-2019, or you can email him at www.robinsonweeks.com. And again, it's www.robinsonweeks.com. Now, if you want to reach me, my number is 470-898-3188. So again, 470-898-3188. My email is abutler with one T at Forest Park with one R ga.org. So it's abutler at forestparkga.org. Now for social media, on Facebook, it's Angeline Butler, your mayor, and Instagram and Twitter is Butler, your mayor. So I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to meeting you if you want to come on out in August. But most importantly, I think this partnership and your direct impact into our city and seeing the significant impact that you'll make, I just look forward to that.
Awesome. Mayor, I want to thank you personally for taking time out of your busy schedule to come sit down with us, hang out, talk about the city of Forest Park, talk about you. I'll never forget when you and I first connected. We were talking about the Aerotropolis, just trying to get you kind of up to speed with what we were doing. And once you had an understanding, a grasp on our strategy, you were like, we need to be at the table.
Absolutely.
And I just want to thank you for your leadership and your commitment to not only making the city of Forest Park a better place, but also for its residents. And that's clear every time we talk, every time we communicate, every time we're texting. I'll get something that's about the people, and I just want to thank you for that.
Well, and I want to thank you, sir, for your platform and the vision that you're bringing to the Aerotropolis and just the visibility that you're allowing each municipality to have. So hats off to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Well, listen, everyone has had an opportunity to hear from the dynamic mayor of the city of Forest Park, Mayor Angeline Butler, who continues to think boldly and intentional about the city and its residents. And we want to thank our sponsors for continuing to sponsor our great podcast, Clayton County Board of Commissioners, and their leadership, and they continue to be great advocates of our strategy of partnership and collaboration to really bring regional economic competitiveness. If you heard something on the podcast that is familiar, that you want to continue to check in on us, the organization, please follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We're out there. AEROATL.org is our website, and AEROATL is our hashtag. So continue to follow us, watch us, support us. We need everyone to continue to get on board as we continue to drive up regional economic competitiveness. Yes. Again, I want to thank you for following us. Shannon James, your president and CEO of the AERO Atlanta podcast, where we want to help you land here and take off. Thank you.